Gregory Peck was born Eldred Gregory Peck on April 5, 1916, in La Jolla, California. His parents divorced when he was young, an experience that left a lasting impression on him and contributed to the introspective nature that later defined both his personality and his performances. Peck was raised primarily by his grandmother, whose strong sense of discipline and moral clarity helped shape his character. As a young man, Peck attended the University of California, Berkeley, where he initially pursued medicine. However, his growing interest in literature, public speaking, and theater soon drew him in another direction. At Berkeley, he became deeply involved in acting and stage performance, discovering not only a talent for the craft but also a passion for storytelling as a means of exploring ethical questions and human complexity. This realization led him to abandon medicine in favor of drama, eventually enrolling at the neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater in New York City, where he studied under the legendary acting teacher Sanford Meisner. Peck's early career began on the stage, where he honed his skills in live theater, developing the discipline and emotional restraint that would later become hallmarks of his film work. His Broadway performances attracted attention, and in 1944, he made his film debut in Days of Glory. Almost immediately, Hollywood recognized that Peck was something special. Unlike many actors of his era, he projected intelligence and seriousness without arrogance, strength without cruelty, and authority without aggression. Throughout the late 1940s and 1950s, Gregory Peck rose rapidly to stardom, becoming one of the most respected leading men in the industry. Films such as The Keys of the Kingdom, 1944, Gentleman's Agreement, 1947, and 12 O'Clock High, 1949, established him as an actor willing to tackle challenging subject matter. In Gentleman's Agreement, Peck portrayed a journalist who exposes anti-Semitism in American society, a bold and socially conscious role that reflected both his personal values and his belief in cinema as a tool for progress. Perhaps no role defines Gregory Peck more completely than Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird, 1962. As the quiet, principled lawyer who defends an innocent black man in the racially segregated South, Peck delivered a performance that transcended cinema and entered the realm of cultural mythology. His Atticus Finch embodied moral courage, empathy, and unwavering belief in justice, becoming a role model not only for audiences but also for generations of lawyers, educators, and activists. Peck's portrayal earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor, but more importantly, it cemented his legacy as an artist whose work stood for something greater than entertainment. He later said that Atticus Finch was the role he was most proud of, and it is easy to see why. The character reflected Peck's own belief in fairness, compassion, and quiet strength. Beyond To Kill a Mockingbird, Peck delivered memorable performances in a wide range of genres. He starred in romantic dramas like Roman Holiday, 1953, showcasing warmth and charm opposite Audrey Hepburn, epic adventures such as The Guns of Navarone, 1961, westerns like The Big Country, 1958, and darker psychological roles, including his chilling performance as Dr. Joseph Mengele in The Boys from Brazil, 1978. This versatility demonstrated not only his technical skill but also his willingness to take risks and defy expectations. Beginning in the 1980s, he embarked on a rich, dignified, and deeply rewarding new chapter of his career by fully embracing television, a medium that offered him something cinema increasingly could not: the space to explore history, faith, conscience, and moral struggle with patience and nuance. This transition was not a retreat from stardom but a deliberate and thoughtful evolution. At a stage in life when many actors quietly faded into the background, he instead chose roles of substance and consequence, proving that age had only deepened his insight and sharpened his artistic instincts. Television became his new canvas, allowing him to reach millions of living rooms while continuing to engage audiences on an intellectual and emotional level. Far from slowing down, he approached these projects with renewed purpose, selecting characters that carried ethical weight and psychological depth. His commanding screen presence, long associated with the grandeur of the silver screen, translated seamlessly to the intimacy of television, where subtle gestures and restrained emotion often spoke louder than spectacle. Each performance felt measured, deliberate, and rooted in lived experience, as though the wisdom accumulated over decades of storytelling now found its most natural expression. Among his most unforgettable television performances was his portrayal of Abraham Lincoln in The Blue and the Gray. Taking on one of the most revered and scrutinized figures in American history was no small task, yet he approached the role with humility and quiet confidence. Rather than presenting Lincoln as a distant marble icon, he revealed the man beneath the legend, a thoughtful, weary, and deeply human leader carrying the unbearable weight of a nation fractured by civil war. Through subtle inflections, expressive silences, and a profound sense of inner conflict, he conveyed Lincoln's moral resolve and emotional burden with remarkable authenticity. It was a performance defined not by grand speeches alone, but by moments of reflection, doubt, and compassion, reminding viewers that history is shaped by human vulnerability as much as by strength. Around the same period, he delivered another profoundly moving and widely acclaimed performance as Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty in the television film The Scarlet and the Black. In this role, he portrayed the real-life Vatican priest who defied the Nazi regime during World War II, risking his own life to shelter and rescue thousands of Jews and Allied prisoners. With understated power, he brought to life a man guided by unwavering faith and moral courage, portraying heroism not as loud defiance but as quiet, relentless compassion. His performance captured the tension between spiritual duty and mortal danger, illuminating the extraordinary bravery required to choose righteousness in the face of terror. In October 1942, at a time when the world was shadowed by war and uncertainty, he entered into marriage with Greta Kukkonen, beginning a chapter of his life defined by devotion, growth, and the quiet rhythms of family. Their union blossomed into a household filled with youthful energy and promise as they welcomed 3 sons, Jonathan, Stephen, and Carrie, each child adding a new dimension of meaning and responsibility to his life. Though the demands of career and the pressures of time eventually led the couple to separate in 1955, their story did not dissolve into bitterness. Instead, it evolved with grace. They chose mutual respect over resentment, maintaining cordial and compassionate relations, a testament to maturity and enduring regard that extended beyond the bonds of marriage itself. After the legal separation from his first wife, fate once again opened the door to love. This time it arrived in the form of Véronique Passani, a sophisticated Paris-based news reporter whose intellect and worldliness complemented his own depth and curiosity. Their marriage marked a fresh beginning, one shaped by shared experiences, cultural richness, and renewed emotional connection. Together they built a blended family that further enriched his personal life, welcoming a son Anthony Peck and a daughter Cecilia Peck. In this second chapter of love and partnership, he found not only companionship but also continuity as his growing family became a source of grounding and inspiration amid the ever-changing demands of his public life. Across both marriages, his journey reveals a man who valued family as deeply as his professional calling, someone who navigated love, loss, and renewal with dignity, leaving behind a legacy not just of achievement but of humanity, empathy, and enduring familial bonds. In the quiet years before his passing, Gregory Peck, one of Hollywood's most dignified leading men, looked back on a lifetime in film with unusual candor. Known for his moral authority on screen and his measured restraint off it, Peck rarely indulged in gossip or sensationalism. Yet when he spoke about Robert Mitchum, the famously rebellious icon of American cinema, Peck allowed himself a moment of frank reflection that surprised even those closest to him. What emerged was not scandal for its own sake, but a layered human truth about a man too often reduced to myth. Peck began by acknowledging the stark contrast between their public images. "People like to pretend we came from opposite ends of Hollywood," he once said. "I was supposed to be the clean-cut conscience, and Bob was cast as the outlaw." The comparison, Peck noted, was convenient but incomplete. Mitchum's reputation for defiance, his clashes with authority, his brushes with controversy, his sardonic humor, became the dominant narrative, obscuring the depth of his talent and the seriousness with which he approached his craft. What Peck found most misunderstood, he explained, was Mitchum's discipline. "The shocking thing," Peck admitted, "is how hard Bob actually worked." Beneath the laid-back posture and half-lidded gaze was an actor who prepared meticulously, studied his characters, and understood the power of understatement. Peck recalled watching Mitchum transform minimal dialogue into moments of lasting impact. "He knew that less could be more," Peck said. "That kind of control doesn't come from laziness. It comes from confidence and intelligence." Peck also addressed Mitchum's reputation for cynicism. While many interpreted Mitchum's dry wit as detachment or disdain, Peck saw it as armor. "Bob used humor the way some men use a shield," he reflected. "It kept people at a distance, but it also kept him honest." According to Peck, Mitchum was deeply aware of Hollywood's hypocrisies and refused to pretend otherwise. "He wasn't interested in pleasing the room," Peck said. "He was interested in telling the truth, even if it made people uncomfortable." Perhaps most surprising was Peck's revelation about Mitchum's sensitivity. "He felt things more deeply than he let on," Peck confessed. Mitchum's personal struggles and public missteps, Peck believed, were symptoms of a restless spirit rather than moral failing. "Bob carried a kind of sadness," he said, and he didn't know what to do with it except turn it into art. That emotional undercurrent, Peck argued, gave Mitchum's performances their haunting resonance. Peck concluded with a reflection that felt both admiring and elegiac. If Bob had wanted to be safer, more respectable, he could have been, he said. But then he wouldn't have been Robert Mitchum. For Peck, the truth was not that Mitchum defied Hollywood norms, but that he exposed them. In revealing this perspective, Peck offered a final lesson. Greatness in art often comes wrapped in contradiction, and the most enduring talents are those brave enough to be themselves. In the end, Gregory Peck's words did not dismantle Robert Mitchum's legend, they refined it. What he revealed was not a shocking secret but a deeper understanding, one that honored Mitchum not as a caricature of rebellion but as a serious artist, complicated man, and unforgettable presence in the history of film. He passed away peacefully in his sleep on June 12, 2003, bringing to a close a life that had been marked by extraordinary achievement, quiet dignity, and enduring influence. He was surrounded in spirit and memory by the love of those closest to him, and he was survived by his devoted second wife and his children, who carried forward both his legacy and the values he cherished most. His death was not merely the end of a life, but the final gentle curtain call of a man whose presence had left an indelible imprint on generations. In death, as in life, he was laid to rest with solemn grace and reverence. His mortal remains were interred at the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels Mausoleum in Los Angeles, California, a place of profound spiritual significance and architectural beauty, befitting a figure whose life had been guided by principle, faith, and moral conviction. The mausoleum, serene and contemplative, stands as a quiet sanctuary where admirers, loved ones, and future generations may come to reflect, remember, and honor a legacy that transcended time. Though he is no longer physically present, his spirit endures in the memories he created, the lives he touched, and the lasting impact of a life lived with purpose, integrity, and grace.